controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are Ace Up Science here to make things make sense.
Okay, so now we're getting into the real sack of meat and potatoes of our bodies.
The body, my biggest nemesis.
Why is it? What do you like? Oh my God, Mitch, I know. I'm like, I
Spit it out, bro.
I get ailments. I am broken physically a lot. Like I get the ankle.
Wow, can't even name one thing. Okay, it's like
the gout. I have like, oh my God, I go blind in one eye, then I get migraines and puke because my body thinks it's dying. Like I do have these ailments, but in quarantine, I think I've had strep throat every 2 months, even just popping penicillin. Thank goodness. I would be so dead without antibiotics. You put me back 1600s, gone, boom. So I do get them, but your relationship is just constant.
Yeah, more and more thinking psychosomatic, part of my anxiety, part of like I definitely just have always had weird quirks, and they're not always big things. Some of them are. So I have like some major back problems that have occurred that I've like gone to like physical therapy for.
But then now you're reading some book where you're like, it's not.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay.
In my sort of like study session.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely like. There's always some ailment going on with my body. So I have a very strange relationship to this vessel because it feels like it fails me a little bit.
Oh my God.
And if it's not the body, it's the brain, girl, you know? And the brain doesn't shut up and the brain's making me think it's failing me. And that's a failure in and of itself. So, I mean, that's why I listen to Alan Watts, because I'm like, well, there must be a reason. I'm just an experience of the universe and it's a really unique experience and I'm an expression of what.
But you do sprain thine ankle.
I sprained thine ankle.
Like, it's like purple. It's not psychosomatic. And if it is psychosomatic, you have a powerful brain.
No. I definitely have like this weak ankles.
If I run now, it's so bad. Although I'm like, was it just dance? Like, but my Achilles tendon just like really like hurts so much after I run now enough that like then I have to put it into recovery for 3 weeks and I'm like, oh, I'm better. Then I run for a week and then all of a sudden I'm like, so now do I just not run?
So I think it's time for us to also realize that part of this is just we're old.
Like, yeah, I'm like,
I don't know, we're not that old, but we certainly are at the age of aging.
Yeah, it's such a like thing that you say. You'll be like, my ankles hurt, and then like, yeah, your parents will be like, oh, well, that starts at 30. No, what I find people in their 40s always say this. They go, it starts at 30.
Yeah,
it's actually like people at my parents' age are like, no, we've figured this out. Like, it's like there's something about when you're 40 where you're just like, maybe this time is like when you start to notice the body is truly falling apart.
That makes me so sad, but mine has been falling apart my whole life. So maybe I'll be more like able to cope.
Wait, really? I feel like you seemed so
way,
healthy when I met you. You weren't getting sick.
The back problem I have was in university is when it started.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, it's from stress.
Mine was profusely sweating at night. That kind of went away.
Yeah, that was disturbing.
Was that because I was just drinking too much?
Probably, but that's another example. I've always had really bad hangovers, and I feel like I kind of thrive a little more now because I just like I'm so used to having hangovers.
You've like dealt with the. Okay, so that's also a flaw. If we're gonna talk about flaws in the body, like actually, yeah.
Let us enjoy life, yeah. Jesus.
Evolution's like you just started drinking not that long ago. We haven't been able to figure out how to fix this one. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like we've poisoned it. But yeah,
where shall we begin? Like,
I think okay. So my study is about our feet because that's where I get the most of my issues now. So whether there's a gout in my foot, hello everyone, I am coming forth to try and take down the stigma of gout and just be honest and open with it's okay.
Didn't you tell me there's like a movement of millennials to be like, gout is normal?
Okay, maybe this is a little confirmation bias as the person who is saying that because, you know, I'm maybe one of the few millennials who've Googled 30 gout ? But when I Google that, there are people who have my back.
Have you joined any support group?
No, but whenever I do get it,
support
there's
groups?
Definitely like some Googling that's some support. That truly, I think I write gout support, enter. But that's related to my feet because the times I've gotten it is swelling in my feet, but that actually has nothing to do with the type of pain like from my Achilles tendon and that I'm going to be talking about today.
Okay.
But our feet, are an evolutionary mess because we not that long ago climbed down from trees to start living our bipedal lives on land from the evolution of like Earth and life on Earth, like very recently. So our feet not that long ago have been mostly designed to be in trees holding branches. And when I found this out, it was one of those moments of just like science research that I just love because it's just so it shocks your worldview. Like it just shocks your.
You're like, these feet are not well made.
They are not well made. Like you do not need 26 bones in your feet unless you're actually using it to pick up a fork and eat your dinner. Like it's like we don't need to run from predators anymore. We do not need to hunt our food anymore. We press buttons, it gets delivered to us. Our feet are just this like caught in this really shitty time of having left the trees and not had enough time to become sort of something that we would look to as the more idealized version.
And so we suffer more feet problems than maybe we need to because it's not been designed for our lifestyle.
Oh my God, yes. Like 100%. Like it's, and that's like something that I really can relate to in my life in my 30s. I'm like, I'm always looking at my feet. Like that's where the pain is. Like, I don't know about you. Like, have you had foot pain?
Other than like the fact that I do sprain my ankle, like not so often, but I've had that happen and like to a severe
But no
degree.
toe pain?
Yeah, I've never had any like foot pain, to be honest.
Oh my God, another thing I got that I don't is not fully related, but kind of is when I tell you what the ideal version of our legs would be. But I get ingrown toenails.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's also like toenails.
I feel like maybe growing up I'd done that, but I always thought it was just like, what, you need to cut your toenails more often then.
Okay, I got the worst one in university and it threw me off because I was like young and was like, why is my toe doing that? Like I didn't even know. It's so gross. And then it was like, what? This is actually a little tip and trick. What happens is like, it just happens sometimes that the nail does not grow properly forward. So they froze my foot and they had to cut open my foot to go in and cut the nail out.
Wait, did I know you then? Why don't I remember? I have no memory. My brain doesn't work.
Oh
right?
my
I also,
God.
that's another ailment. My brain like doesn't remember things.
No, I'm pretty sure I knew you, but I can't know for sure because it was a long time ago. But then they said, what you need to do from now on, I've done it ever since, never gotten an ingrown toenail since that time because I just got them all the time. You cut a little V in the middle of I've only got them in my big toe. So my big toe. And
What's a V mean?
Like literally, if you have your flat edge of your toe, I'm like, I hope people
Of
like
the toenail.
Some people are grossed out. The foot fetish people are like, tell me more. Yeah, there's the flat toenail that reaches out towards the universe in front of you.
Yes.
You cut a little, like I would think a V shape. You like just like go on each corner of the things of the clipper. So go tick, tick, so that now it looks like a little indent of a V across the flat plane of the nail.
What? Like an upside down V? Like is your toenail now pointing like an arrow, or is it inverted?
Opposite. Sorry, it's inverted. Like the disappearance.
So the middle
is the
part
V.
of the toenail is actually the closest clipped to your skin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. That's a way of saying it. But yeah, okay.
That's how you cut your toenails?
Okay, because you leave the little, and I just keep saying V, but maybe it's wrong. It's like you make the indent, but it's small. It's not like the whole thing is like a gradual weird like
like devil
It's just
horns?
it's just a little, and what it forces, they said it forces your nail to grow towards that, and it pulls out so that your nail doesn't grow into the sides of your toe.
Okay, that's cool.
I mean, I don't know if that's like, that was just what this university like doctor
Well, I
said.
have been told that people often cut their toenails rounded, but you probably shouldn't because that's when it gives the opportunity for the ingrown part to go into the skin.
Interesting.
Whereas if you actually cut it flat, it leaves it far enough forward that it will
But
grow forward.
but the actual design of the toe clipper is rounded.
I know, and I feel like my fingernails when looking at them, but I guess I bite them that way. I guess if you just like let your fingernails grow, they'd be flat for surfaces.
Yeah.
Do we need fingernails? Yeah.
I'm like now we're going back to being in the trees. Like, you know what I mean? They were not clipping their nails. They were like running and
grinding them
hunting, and they
down.
were like, yeah, literally like maybe
they didn't
hitting
bite them though, right? Because
Yeah.
like a lot of people have an instinct to bite their
But
nails.
one thing that makes me think about this, and we're getting the evolutionary
And
biologist
this
brain
podcast
on.
has chaotic energy.
But yeah, it really does. But that makes me think, would they have bit their nails? Because is that like not maybe would have made them more sick to
like
like
what,
be
like
eating,
licking
like,
the viruses
Actually,
and
I
bacteria?
don't know. You're right. I want to know if hunter-gatherers chewed their nails or if just the sheer life at the time involving cave drawing and just like, you know what I
Right.
mean? We're like,
It was like wearing it
you
down.
would never have too long a nail because they would have broken because of all the like more textile things we were doing with our hands and our feet.
I can't be sure. But
No, but I wasn't expecting you to know the answer. I'm just like, that's thoughts that evolutionary biologists would think about.
So back to your toes and your feet.
It is related. Like they think, evolutionary biologists think, and there's a lot of science as to why our bipedal designed body should have the ostrich ankle and foot, which looks like an ostrich leg fully, but
So just like a fat bird leg.
yeah, so 2 toes with 2 bones per toe, not our 26 chaotic energy like this podcast, that link up to this ankle that like is actually almost looks like it's on the foot, that then go up to this joint that then comes into their thighs, and that would be the best design for us. And it makes sense for one specific tangible reason I think about, which is that birds have been bipedal for 250 million years, and we've only been bipedal for 5 million years.
That is wild.
So birds are just so
Are there
freaking well evolved.
other animals that walk bipedally?
No,
No.
not the only animals that are truly bipedal on Earth are birds and humans.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because there's it's like Ernie is like, okay.
Well, he's on all fours.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm just trying to name things that aren't bipedal. If you start thinking about it, they're
Yeah.
all not, except for those two. But then you do have things like chimps and apes, but they actually
they could
aren't.
stand, but they primarily are, yeah.
Yeah, and they're actually using their hands in different, like truly bipedal,
Wow.
are birds and humans. So obviously we look to birds because they've been around for 200. Their ancestors have
That's
been here for 250
amazing.
million years. That is the actually better designed foot for us.
To walk on 2 feet.
Yeah, it's like we have a foot for gripping. We have obviously for walking. Again, I don't want to disparage our bodies. It's like brilliant, and evolution doesn't work in the way that you got to choose. Evolution does not create perfection. It molds previous structures to produce anatomies just good enough to survive.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Well, am I just good enough to survive? I don't know. I have two embarrassing things. One, I don't know the difference between an ostrich and an emu. Is it location? Do you know?
No, I don't.
I want to look that up. And number two,
That's not that embarrassing. I love that. You're like, this horrible embarrassing. I'm like, no, that's totally fair.
I
don't know.
guess it's not that difference. I need to look this up.
What was your other one?
Definitely foot problem. I stub my toe so frequently. I think something's wrong with me.
yeah.
Well, we've already established something's wrong with me, but it's
like you don't have spatial awareness of thine feet?
It must be, because I will literally kick it into a wall and be like, how did I even, sometimes it makes sense when you're like, that thing was hit and I didn't see it. Or sometimes bed frames are disguised because the sheet comes out in a weird way.
Or you're when you get to a new Airbnb and you're just like, it just feels like you're clunking around a bit. You're like, well, I didn't know about the shelf.
House, sometimes I'm just doing the same thing I do every day, and I just kick the banister. And it hurts so much.
Wait, I'm like, should I be hearing you scream? How much do you think is a lot? Because I'm like, are you just doing this all the time and I'm not realizing? You're
because it's weirdly, when I stub my toe, when I get hurt other ways, I definitely go ow! But when I stub my toe, I go, it's so internal.
You're great.
At first it's like, oh, shit.
I'm not hearing because I'm always listening to podcasts, so I always have headphones on. I can just picture you behind me in life all the time going, oof, and you're just bashing your feet around.
Yeah, so I have a problem with that. So feet bother me because of that.
You'd probably have less bashing and just a more interesting foot if you had your ostrich foot. But okay, did you figure out about ostriches or emus?
They're both members of the ratite group of large flightless birds that are scattered through the hemisphere, including Africa, the ostriches range, and Australia, the emus range.
Okay.
So I think they're not the same.
Yeah.
But they're similar kinds of creatures that maybe have different geographies.
Would be curious if it was convergent evolution or if it not.
They're so cool.
Convergent evolution is also the explanation for why we are bipedal, but us and birds, we are doing it because of convergent evolution. It's two processes that got to a similar physiological place because of the way that
the environment it's an advantage for us to get that.
And
eyeballs do that too. Eyeballs don't all come from the same ancestor. It's they developed separately.
And know what's crazy is it's physics. It's the physics of energy.
But then it is crazy that we're the only ones,
And birds.
No, I mean us and birds.
That's true. That is true. Know what I thought too?
Why aren't the dogs walking?
I know, and I was like, they might know something that we don't. I'm just there's something funny too. I don't know if this is just a dumb observation that I have, but I'm like, is it kind of gay to walk on 2 feet?
Oh, what?
Do you know what I mean? I just feel like other animals, there's just it's just when I think of it, a straight guy on 2 feet, I'm like, that's kind of gay. It's gay. Yeah, it's I just wanted to say it to a straight guy. I just wanted to be the biology of our human bodies is kind of gay, and just see if they would be you're dumb. But I'm there's something dainty about being I need my hands to pick up my teeth.
Yeah, but then it's every dinosaur is also just gay. Not everyone, I guess. Not all.
No.
But actually, the T-Rex, Velociraptors are definitely gay. They got a little toe that taps.
Yeah, exactly. Bipedal's gay. Bipedal is gay. It is. I think it. Or it's bi, or it's bi, or you know what?
Bipedal's bi.
Yeah, bipedal's bi. Holy shit! I can't believe I did not realize that.
I was gonna say, it's interesting to think that in some ways people might argue that birds are some of the other smartest quote unquote creatures on this planet. Like
What do you
birds
mean?
are so clever. They're
Oh.
another animal that can often like imitate speech.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
They're often like able to memorize things. Like obviously, yes, we've tested like octopus are smart, dogs are obviously clever. Like there's, but I just feel like
Oh my God.
birds-
I'm like, we can get back to Alan Watts if we talk about consciousness. What does smart mean? 'Cause
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
That's
I mean?
why I
Like,
said quote
that's so
unquote,
interesting.
But
'cause-
birds, people often say, are some of the smartest creatures on this planet.
But who says that?
I don't know.
No, no, I didn't know
Someone
if it was
told
like
it to me.
Okay, no, it's true. I'm
My
like, I
grade 9
think,
teacher. I don't know.
I'm like, I think that too, but then I'm like, how do I place? Like, am I just? I've learned to love birds this year, so I say it. But then I'm like, why? I'm saying it because I love them.
Okay, episode on birds.
There you go, Brandon. Oh my God.
Someone's got to write this down. We need someone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. No, we'll re-listen to it when we edit it, and then we'll add them all in.
I cannot re-listen to our own podcast.
Actually, that's true. I don't. I just find the right places. When I hear my own voice, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go puke now.
Okay, so are you done with feet? Can I talk about my thing?
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about the back because my biggest problem has always been that I have back pain. Now, I will say most people have lower back pain. That's like the most common kind of back pain. For me, I have this really weird thing in like my mid back shoulder that just like spasms for no apparent reason. I don't know. And
So
will be
spasms?
like I'll just be sitting doing nothing and suddenly it's like it spasms like crazy. It's the most painful thing you can imagine. I mean, I am also really weak, so that's like give or take that reference point.
But you do get massages all the time, so you do have like someone pressing in your back a lot. So like, it's not like you don't know what it feels like. Like you have
a pain
people
reference.
really go hand on your back, and it hurts way more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like debilitating. Like, and it used to knock me out for about a week. I would be like laying down most of the day.
Okay, one thing you do sometimes, and I'm curious about this. It's like you'll be like, it's coming. Like sometimes you're like, my back.
Yeah, I can
so
feel
what
a
is that?
buildup of like knot in my back, and it's always the same spot for me. And then sometimes it just like tips the scale and it starts spasming.
Oh my God.
So I can feel like what I
sucks.
feel after it spasms, like 3 days later, is that same feeling. It's like still kind of there, whatever. So I wanted to talk a little bit about back pain because a lot of people have it. I feel like a lot of people go right. We're going to talk about also something else that's a very controversial, and that is chiropractors. I'm coming for the chiropractors.
Oh my God, it's gonna be a teardown. Look out, Dr. Oz. I know you're not a chiropractor, but we write it down. We're gonna do an episode about you and how you suck. Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have friends or people in your life who you like with migraines? For me, I go, oh, you're migraine. Like I can see my migraine sufferers. I know who you are, of my friends, people I know, and it becomes a topic of conversation because you're like, oh yeah, the glow. You talk about your coping mechanisms. I have some insane ones. We'll do an episode on migraines. You might find out some secrets about me. So. Do you have your friends who are the people who get this, who you're like, you've got the back pain thing? That I have?
Yeah. I have like, there's two segments. There's a few friends that I know specifically have back pain. Nothing the same. It's not like mine, but they have their own versions of back
Yeah.
pain. And then I have just the other friends who are also just like neurotically in pain all the time. Like there's always
Oh.
something going on.
Yeah,
You're like, why
yeah.
is my eye twitching for 3 weeks? You know,
Oh,
or like,
no.
why does my ankle suddenly hurt in my knee? I can't run anywhere. Like those kind of things. Like I am that kind of person, and I have those friends too, who I know I don't have to be having the same ailment, but we always have some kind of ailment.
Oh my God. Okay. True.
So back pain. Worldwide back pain is the leading cause of disability. Interesting.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? In America, I think it's like the second cause.
It kind of sounded like you were a chiropractor advertising chiropractor. And the way you said that, you're like, and
Actually,
that,
some
you
of these
know.
facts I think came from like a chiropractor like fact sheet, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
But I was fact checking them, and they were just stats and numbers. So, experts estimate that 80% of population will experience back pain at some time. So get ready if you haven't had it. Okay,
I know.
get ready.
I'm always like, when I look at you, I'm just like, it's coming for me, but when?
We're still young. You're gonna get it. U.S. spends $90 billion a year on back pain, and that doesn't count the amount of money that's lost by non-productivity, so not being at work.
So is that do you buy meds, or
I think
do
it's
you
probably
buy
the cost
chiro-
of like insurance to like get. Yeah, I don't actually know. 90 billion. It's just like you. Probably for medicine. Probably for like.
I'm curious if it would include like the fact that you pay for a masseuse to like when you're
like the medical
have a
system.
month,
yeah, I would imagine like having back injuries
Yeah.
just leads to like certain kind of costs on the medical systems and
Physiotherapy,
like
yeah.
drugs and doctors' attention and all these things.
Yeah.
That, like, anyway, so I was really curious because I have always heard that there's this kind of like pseudoscience around chiropractic, and I know there might be people out there that come for me. So I'm mostly just going to focus on one aspect because I know the field of chiropractors like kind of broad. I will say though, it is kind of founded on really kooky ideas. Is that like a weird problematic word? I'm like, where did that word come from?
We'll look that up, either edit it out or we'll just cancel you.
Yeah, no, I just in my, I'm like, oh, kooky, but that's what I thought kooky means. Because like, I think chiropractors used to believe that they could heal almost anything. Like if you had cancer, we can like compress your body and like do weird things and it will be healed. So a lot of chiropractic now have moved away from that to be like, no, we just believe we're like readjusting the spine and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to look into.
I thought you were going to be like, and it's all came from Mormonism.
No,
like, what?
No, it's just like come from the kind of a weird science that's not considered science or medicine.
Chiropractors have Mormon energy to me in my brain.
Yeah.
They're like the same. They're like blue, white, beige, sketchy white people. Like that's just like whatever. No offense to chiropractors. No offense to chiropractors.
I know. So spinal manipulation is one of like popular things. That's what you think of, like when they like crack your neck,
like
push on your back, and you hear the pop. And so that's just to move your joints beyond their range of motion, which is often accompanied with a pop or crack. And I think the belief is that this releases pain. It, because sometimes increasing your range of motion is supposed to be a good thing. Anyway,
imagine you went to like, I know 4-year degree. It's chiropractors. We are not, but I'm just like, imagine you got there and you had to open your notebook and they're like, so there's two things we're looking for, pops and cracks. So if you hear a pop, that's actually this. And if you hear a crack, and it's all based on just the noise. Cause I'm like, you just read that. You're like, it's about a pop and a crack. I'm like, that does not seem right.
Snap, crackle, pop. Were they chiropractors?
They were gay. That's for sure.
They were certainly gay. Have you ever gone to a chiropractor?
No, I don't. Again, I don't have the back pain, so I'm like, this is all information to me. But if I did a back pain, I think I definitely would have gone to a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. I'm like so open and interested, and I'm just like, ooh, cool. But because I haven't had that like thing that's pushed me over the edge to like, I find it hard to even go to the doctor, and it's free here in Canada. You know what I mean? Like I would totally go if I needed to, but I've never gone because I haven't felt.
I did go. Do you remember I told you about this? It was the worst experience of my life.
Okay, and now I will bring them all down in my study time.
This industry down because this was like one particular not great person who was recommended to me, and I'm really not comfortable with my neck being cracked. Like just in general, I've always had like weird sensitivity around my neck being broken. And even just like cracking knuckles, like I don't really like that. Like it makes me feel weird. I don't mind other people doing it, but I've always been like, I don't love the idea of cracking my bones. So I went because I was, having so many back problems, and we did some x-rays, all these things. They evaluated me in a bunch of ways and gave me certain exercises and stuff, or just like movements to practice. But then he was going to do the spinal adjustments. And I was like, I am really nervous, and if it's all right, I don't really want to crack my neck because they kind of like, and I was like, it just freaks me out. I don't mind. Like sometimes they bend your body over and go like, and I was like, okay, you can do that, but please don't do the neck.
I love how you're like adding to, and also we're looking for cracks, pops, and
when you see them do it. So he's like, okay, yeah, no worries. So then, like they literally like fold your body in half, and then it's like a man who weighs like 180 pounds who's like putting his whole, like they go like, push you down.
I'm horny.
He was actually attractive. But in that moment, you feel like your body get crushed.
This is not for you, Mitch. I can already tell you. I'm like, there's
but I
no
was
way
like,
you
okay,
like this.
I am anything to heal this back pain. Fine. And then he was like, I really think we should crack your neck because XYZ. And I was like, I don't know. And I have a really hard time saying no in situations. And in that moment, I was like, this is not good. And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, I think it'll really help.
Oh my God, this is so scary.
He did it without my consent. I mean, I guess I was probably kind of like, I guess, I don't know. And
my God, that's
the second he did it, I was like, I will never come back here.
You had a stranger snap your neck.
Yes.
Unconsented.
Right. It was the most mortifying thing I have
ever
experienced.
No wonder you're coming for chiropractors today. You were attempted murder.
Attempted murder. And actually, it's like there's a stat that's like 1 in every million people die from a neck crack.
That is like, okay, is that fact check?
Well, I didn't write that one down.
Okay, because I'm like, that's like, it has that energy. I'm like, I need to know. Like,
no, it was
but I know you sign your life away.
Yeah.
Like when you're going skydiving.
Obviously, it's very low. I'm not trying to insinuate that it's a problem. It's a very rare problem, but it is a problem nonetheless.
And you're not going to get any.
And so I'm going to tell you just a study I looked up. for all you chiropractic professionals out there was a massive review done on whether or not it helps low back pain, in particular chronic low back pain and acute low back pain. Basically, the answer is it doesn't help. It could provide sometimes immediate relief, but no better than like taking like ibuprofen or Tylenol.
Wait, what?
And it is not as good as exercise. So people just moving their bodies more. Like now more and more they're realizing back pain to be physical is actually a really scary experience, especially when you've had an injury. But to get back moving, I think is what they think is one of the most important things.
Okay, that's fair, but you know what? That's a tough thing that a lot of these types of studies end up at for everything. It's like even depression. It's like, exercise. Like it's just like exercise is so interesting. Back to hunter gatherers, back to bipedal. Like our bodies are broken right now because they're not doing what we're meant to do. We're stuck in this. It's like under evolved place. Like it doesn't surprise me that exercise is more effective than chiropractors. But what I'm saying is exercise is really hard for a lot of people. And then, you know what I mean? So it can sometimes feel like an annoying, because even depression, it's like, it is true though for so many things.
Yeah. But even if you're not going to do exercise, there's like other therapies that they were saying are like massaging is like equally as effective as at temporarily removing your pain. So that was the idea, was it kind of like what they even suggested to me is that these spinal manipulations over time will like change your spine, but it doesn't. It's just like, what cracking is, just like, the air bubbles that are like being released from the
wow. So I guess it's like fully makes sense that you're not going back to chiropractor, because even your research is making you know that like you have other ways that you can mitigate your back pain that doesn't involve someone, potentially cracking your neck when you don't.
And another big review was done on acute pain. So if you just started having a hurt back and went, versus like say someone who has had back pain for like every day.
Oh my God. Like if I went to a chiropractor, would they be like, no, you don't need this? Or they'd be like, yeah, let's just crack your back for shit.
Of course they would. Yeah, of course. It's no better than placebo for acute pain.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you did kind of just drag chiropractors.
Well,
pretty bad.
In spinal manipulation, I'm not saying there aren't chiropractors out there that have a more holistic view of the body and might like talk about, like in that same way. I remember they kind of gave me suggestions for like when I'm sitting at my desk, kind of like stretches and stuff that I can do to.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just about that. So that's why I don't want to fully take down the industry, but I'm here for it.
But look out, Mitch Moffat's, he's doing his research and your teardown might come soon.
I will say one last thing, which is like a little ramble. So I am reading a book called Healing Back Pain. That's like somewhat controversial. It's like maybe the most famous back physiologist named John Sarno who wrote this book. In I think like the 70s or 80s is when this book was written. So it's a long time ago. And even to this day, doctors like aren't entirely convinced of his theories, because he believes, and he's worked with hundreds of his patients.
This sounds so weird.
That a lot of back pain, and in fact, a lot of chronic pains, are not the result of physical problems. They're the result of like mental repression problems.
Okay.
Like so either psychosomatic or somatic, like in this example of back pain, he might say it is actually the embodiment of your stress, and your body is distracting you from, you're not actually like acknowledging your emotional turmoil, and your body does a really good job at distracting you with pain. Because so many people have back pain, there's literally nothing wrong with them. A doctor looks at it, a chiropractor looks at it, all these people like take scans, whatever. There's nothing wrong with it.
This is so like, it's so interesting because we wanted to talk about why our bodies suck. And so I immediately went to a very physical evolutionary biology concept. But now I like that we're ending here, which is like, what might be the biggest challenge to our bodies is our brains' inability to adapt to this strong, quick shift in cultural lifestyles that we all now live. Like,
yeah, because back pain, I think, has grown like exponentially over the last few decades.
So that's okay. So I guess it's like our brains and mental health is so confusing because we can't define it with the same scientific process as easily as we can with like a disease that involves like a protein degradation problem where we can see the protein with like electron microscopy, and like mental health is so challenging that it doesn't surprise me that doctors can't verify this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me that this couldn't all be made up and not right, but doesn't mean it's not helpful for something that we don't have answers, like, or like mental psychosomatic issues. I can't imagine there's that much people know what to do about that.
Well, I mean, in this book, and I will say now, like I was reading a big review that was all about back pain, and it talked about him and how so many of his ideas have become mainstream.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that people fully like buy into his full theory, but like now chronic back pain is believed to be biopsychosocial. So it has the factors, like it can be biological, and you should never ignore the fact that you could have.
So doctors would maybe go through a bunch of processes to ignore, to make sure that it's not solely physical, and then be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
maybe.
and he was actually advocating for something that he did not know, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. Like at that time, even in his book, he's like, I don't want to make people think that they're like crazy, but you should go to therapy. Because even think of when we were growing up, like going to therapy meant you were like mentally unstable. Like there's such a stigma that in the 70s, he was trying to be like, it might be your emotions. You're not crazy. It's just like you should talk to someone about that.
We were all like, you know, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was new. They're like, yeah, that's crazy. Cuckoo's Nest, kooky.
Kooky.
That's what it's from.
Okay, thank
It's
goodness.
a cuckoo clock.
A
One-
cuckoo. Kooky,
Yeah.
Cuckoo.
Whoa. Without
dodged the
Google,
bullet.
people using our brain the way they were meant to be. Know who didn't have Google? Hunter-gatherers.
Is a cuckoo bird real?
Yeah.
Kookaburra, is that what that is?
Okay, Google that.
bird?
LOL, we did so
What
well.
did we
I
say?
figured out the etymology.
Cuckoo bird?
I figured out the etymology of kooky, but it's not enough.
A cuckoo.
Okay.
Oh, so cute. It's a family of birds common in European cuckoo. Roadrunners are cuckoos.
Roadrunner.
We'll learn more about. Okay, we'll do an episode on cuckoos.
Yeah, okay, write that down. We got an episode.
Ultimately, though, I'm not like advocating for this book, and I don't want to like dive into anything that's pseudoscience.
How's it helped you?
Well, like one thing he says is when you like finally address those things in your mind and acknowledge that the pain is maybe like almost like an emblematic problem of like stress in your life or poor sleep. I have realized that I'm like, oh my God, the first time it's ever really happened to me is in university right before an exam. It was like the morning after studying late. I had it happen for the first time, and it was really scary. And now I realize it's like often when I am like overstressed, overworked, undersleeping. But what was your question?
My question was, has this book worked for you?
I think so. What he said though is sometimes when you acknowledge like that specific back pain, you have to kind of like believe it, like put your mind to that and be like, I don't have a physical problem.
Wild, man.
Then he says what he sees in his patients so often is that they suddenly get a pain somewhere else.
Is that why you're saying? Because you say you have pain somewhere? Are you talking about how you think you have pain somewhere else?
Yeah, I do. I've been like since I read that book.
He is
I've
you've been
had like
my
a weird
heart problem.
I've been like, oh my God, like my chest is weirdly in pain, and it's
Oh
like,
my God, man, that's crazy.
And I like this is anecdotal and my own experience, so I'm not trying to say like this is the answer, but it is interesting because if you think about it, physical pain is the best way to draw your attention from something. Like when my back goes out, all bets are off. I'm in bed. I'm not thinking about work anymore. I am not going to acknowledge like the emotional stress that I'm going
know
through.
what? I love, not love, but actually sometimes
I love this for you.
Sometimes know what? I love this for you. No, sometimes in the middle of my migraine, I am in so much pain that I'm like, oh well, it's gonna be great today. Like it's like so interesting. But when I'm not in pain, I'm like, I love that feeling. What a beautiful feeling. Like this realization that like I'm in enough pain that like this is not worth, like this isn't like, I don't know. It's like a spiritual weird moment with my body that I hurt so much. And then also I have no FOMO. There's nothing I can do. Like I sometimes
it's real. It's like
it's like I go into this room, I lock myself in there outside of quarantine. I'm like I've had enough of locked myself in there. But there are times in my life where it's really beautiful to just like I've completely log off, and I have like really deep creative thoughts and stuff because your brain is in so much pain. You're conscious, but it's unbelievable. So it's just kind of interesting.
He talks about migraines as a potential, like, again, in his book, he's not saying you should always check out other conditions, but he's like, for a lot of his patients, they couldn't figure it out. And he has like this program where he works through them, like cognitive behavioral therapy. And his belief is that he's like healed hundreds of people over his career.
Wow. Well, what I'm saying is I can relate to that sort of, okay, all bets are off because I have back pain. And like, so maybe like he's saying your body's almost doing that sort of
distract
for
you.
you or distract you. That's so
So it is
weird.
like I weirdly like talk to myself sometimes when I'm like nervous about I have to like that it's like part of what I do is literally I'm like
Wow.
okay, because I am also an anxious person, so if I feel a little bit of pain suddenly I'm like all my attention goes there, and then I'm like, what, that's weird, I don't usually feel like that, but am I feeling it only because I'm thinking about it now, and I like kind of spiral. So I have to kind of remind myself like, no, like you're just like distracting yourself, like think about what's going on in your life. Like,
Also,
are you
you're
stressed
like,
about something?
also you're like working out more than you ever have, and like sometimes you'll be like, Craig, oh my god, my chest is like pulsating, and I'm like, well, did you do pecs yesterday for like half an hour? You're like, yeah, well, I've newly been pushing all these pecs, but now both my titties are in so much pain.
Oh my god, I know I'm so
I'm just like,
stupid.
Mitch, you're like, sometimes you're really freaking out about muscles, and I'm not saying you're stupid, but I'm like, we're both like doing the same thing where we're working out a lot to try and like in our basements, and I'm like, yeah, I wake up next day and I'm in pain. I'm like, it's the work. Like I'm just like, it hurts where I worked out, and then sometimes I'll ask you and you'll tell me, and I'm like, don't you think that? Like, doesn't your brain think that?
It is that partially, but
I'm jacked. Is that I'm jacked?
no, I guess it's like it has felt different. That's why.
Yeah.
And the back thing
No,
is like
I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm just saying there have been times
you're
where
right.
sometimes I'm like, you worked
I
out.
think that definitely it inflames it. It's like it's just an extra layer to like the mental part, and then actually having like any physical discomfort from working out layers on top, and then I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm able to discern between which parts are like from the physical workout.
I love this.
crazy?
I'm just like, I actually think it's fascinating. It's like, I really like love how this podcast was like, what's wrong with the human body? I just couldn't, for some reason.
Brain.
It's the brain. Like the last thing I thought was the brain. I just kept thinking feet, knees, like,
Right.
like, ostrich feet. And
Intestines.
then it's just like, oh my God, maybe the brain is what's broken.
But
Wow.
yet what is beautiful?
Well,
Because
exactly.
sometimes what is broken
And the most.
is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a lot of like different art that's about that or something.
But
Okay.
I mean, like, to go back to Alan Watts and Buddhism, to end this podcast on a way that we came in. We all come out the same way we come in, go out the same way we go in. Like, meditation is in many ways, in many forms, not all, often a way to turn off your brain, to
Yeah.
realize,
Yeah,
our
that's
brain
interesting.
is evolved in this beautiful, genius way, but there's byproducts.
It's
of
too
that.
much. It's too much.
Well,
honey.
it's kind of like everything good comes with a trade-off,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
we're so smart. The trade-off is that we suffer from mental anguish.
We're
And so Buddhism, and not Buddhism, but just like meditation is a chance to be like, let's just like stop those thoughts.
We
and turn them off.
literally what is wrong with our body is our brain, and meditation is turning off the brain. And it's like, even with why we're so smart is like why capitalism took over. Like we created all these technologies and we're like, we're so smart. It comes at a price and it's ruining the planet.
Yeah,
like
I
it's
know,
like, it's like we all need to
it's
turn
the
our
brain.
brains off. They're good, but they're also bad. Oh, love it. Okay.
Well,
thank you
hopefully
so
at the
much
end
for
of the day, they'll
listening.
be the ones that save us. Like the brain. It's like all. What is it? What's the saying? All power comes with great
Well, there's the brain that brain had a profound thought, then you saw it break.
All with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, Spider-Man. Is
that where that ended?
I'm sure Spider-Man was referencing something much deeper, but to me, that's Spider-Man.
It's true. It's like
Peter
the brain
Parker.
can be beautiful and amazing, and we should just also acknowledge its limitations and how we get the best from it, but also don't destroy the planet. Hello, climate change. Okay.
That's the end. Okay. Thank you so much for
Love
listening.
ya.
Hope you enjoyed. #Sidenote podcast. Leave comments on the YouTube videos. Read
I
them all.
want to know what pain you suffer from, physically, mentally. Like, let's have a little sesh. I will go into this video and I will comment back. Sometimes I'm afraid to do that, but I should do that more.
Oh my God.
I'm
I was about to be like, okay, yeah. No, yeah. We'll write that down. Another video about Mitch being afraid to have it on in the comments. Thank you so much. Peace.
See you next week.